Okay, we're gonna, let's go ahead and start.
But they put them in anyway. What did they put on there? We put them in, but not because we want to, because the city's making us put, you know, like they have like some kind of comment in here on the deal.
No, there's an error on the,
It's an error?
Cannot connect to client side.
What class is starting?
I don't know if I have enough juice. I can probably report
I should
that.
sit on your side of the table.
Click again, okay?
Así no sale la pelota.
and it's recorded.
It is, right?
Okay, no, it's from this way, right?
Yeah, it's coming from that way.
Oh, yeah.
It's recording?
Benny, you and I should sit on the other side.
The glare.
Maybe we're doing it on purpose.
Well, let's bring this meeting to order. And we're never gonna get to it.
Kind of.
So,
Oh,
Mr. Salinas, if you wanna call this meeting to order, I can do a roll call. Yeah, I guess just read the first three paragraphs.
do we actually read the first two first? The City of Laredo Technical Review Board Ad Hoc Committee will convene in a regular meeting open to the public at 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, January 2nd, 2019. City of Laredo City Hall, first floor conference room, 1110 Houston Street, Laredo, Texas, to consider the following. Out of consideration for all attendees of the City of Laredo Technical Review Board Ad Hoc Committee meetings, please turn off all cellular phones and pagers or place on inaudible signal. Thank you for your consideration. Pursuant to the Texas Penal Code, trespass by holder of license to carry a handgun, a person licensed under subchapter H, chapter 411, Government Code, Concealed Handgun Law or Handgun Licensing Law, may not enter into the Public Works Conference Room while committee is in session with a concealed or openly carried handgun. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's Wednesday, January the 2nd, 2019, at 5:53 p.m.
Okay. Let me start with roll call. Mr. Jesus Ruiz? Present. Mr. Juan Salinas?
Present.
Mr. Cesar Cantu?
Yes.
Mr. Benny Salinas?
Present.
Mr. Edward Ochoa?
Present.
Mr. Armin Vanlo? Absent. Mr. Daniel Wire? Also absent. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum. I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Jerry Pinzon, building official, Mr. Victor Linares, building director, and Roland Lozano of staff.
Thank you, sir. I guess the next item are the minutes from regular meeting of December 5th, 2018.
Right, I'm working on the minutes. I want to ask the committee to,
Make a motion to dispense with the minutes, to table it to the next meeting.
Any second?
I'll second.
Motion and second. All agreed?
Aye.
How come you guys are wearing a tie now?
Motion carries. Next item, discussion with possible action
Yes, sir.
regarding the City of Laredo Development Code, Chapter 24, Article 4 and 5, for the purpose of revising the dimensional standard setback requirement and any other matters incident thereto.
okay, let me give you a little background. I guess for the record, basically, as you all well know, we've discussed this. The setback ordinance that was proposed that went to the City of Laredo Planning and Zoning Commission was tabled, and they basically said they want, and correct me and step in at any time, Mr. Linares, they wanted clarification, they wanted to find out more information on what the Board of Adjustment had been, approving or variances in regards to setbacks. And also, they had concerns on what other cities,
The economic impact.
the economic impact. And so we're back here to try to perhaps address these if the committee desires, to address this, to be in accordance with the request from the Planning and Zoning Commission. So with that, I don't know, Victor, did you want to?
No, that's pretty much.
So at this stage, I also want to say that city management with the direction of Ms. Cynthia Collazo and the planning department and the building department, we met after the meeting and discussed a more, I guess, a better or concise way to present. So, probably separated into three parts, the three parts being the three main parts, the carports, the front setbacks, and the rear setbacks, and separate them all three and make basically a little presentation on each, but basically having the three items. What does the current ordinance say about the carports? What does the current ordinance say about the front setbacks and rear? What is the proposed ordinance saying? In other words, the differences. And what does the Board of Adjustment have passed in the last fiscal year? I brought us a table, and this was from Planning Department. So they went back for the last 15 months and figured out how many items, and then total came in regards to these three issues. So with that in mind, we have what the Board of Adjustment, so if you're reading this, one came, basically on the totals on the carports, there were 7 that came into the Board of Adjustments. 4 of them got approved, 3 were denied within the last 15 months. The front setbacks, 4 came in, 3 of them got approved. Then the rear setbacks, 5 of them came in, all 5 were approved. Side setbacks, there was 10 out of 12 got approved. And basically, I don't know the details. I didn't want to get too much bogged down into the details. We don't know what they were actually approving, whether it was 2 feet, a foot, 10 feet, whatever. So, but this kind of gives you an idea of what the Board of Adjustment in these particular categories have been approving. With that being said, I guess just open it up to the committee. What does the committee want to do in reference? And I know Mr. Ruiz and Mr. Ochoa were present at the meeting, but I wasn't, so I don't want to say more than.
The only thing I want to add to your comments on the meetings, on the first meeting, they were also asking if this was consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
And I did a quick look at the comprehensive plan before coming out here, and there was only 2 mentions as far as that I could see, doing a word find for setbacks, and 1 on the residential. They were encouraging to modify them so that people could park in the rear. And then on the commercial buildings, like the downtown district, to have 0 setbacks in the front.
Yes,
Again, the same thing to allow for back.
I forgot, yes, I did speak to Ms. Guerra, from the acting planning director from the city of Laredo, and she did mention that the new comprehensive plan is basically allowing, was more liberal in what you could build or do, how to develop the property. And that now comes the issue of addressing the land development code, which,
Right.
as you all know, it needs to be
Codified, yeah.
redone, I guess, overhauled, I guess, not more modified, more like an overhaul. It's just too, for whatever reason, it's just been piecemealed for many years, and now it's to the point where everybody, where do you get the information? So that is one of the agenda items on the, or not, I don't know if it's an agenda item, but it's one of the tasks that planning department has been tasked to do, is to redo the land development code. So I know that the city is working on that. So all these decisions, just throwing it out there, all these decisions that are being proposed, that perhaps could go to council, may all be moved, right?
Well, I think that if we were to get a recommendation from both the TRB and the PNZ to have the setbacks that are being proposed, I think it would make it easier for the consultants to say, okay, well, we've already, they've already fixed this part of it to where you have 5 on the sides, 5 in the rear, and 10 in the front. It'll make it easier for them. It's kind of like, okay, it's one thing checked off the list. The other comment I wanted to make, I think there was a lot of discussion when we first were talking about the setbacks. And then I sent, I don't know if y'all got it or not, but actually the motion that, the initial motion that was, or the agenda item originally was to change all setbacks. There was a lot of discussion here, there was only residential, but the actual motion that.
What meeting was that? You know?
That was
the
a June
date?
meet, it was a June meeting.
In June, I need to go back and,
It was either the first or second meeting in June. I thought I sent you guys a text,
okay. I need to check on that.
which I guess at this point it's kind of like we didn't,
I would
Or
like
we
to
could
deal
still meet again.
with commercial also. I think we ought to deal with commercial too.
yeah, when I talked to Vidal, when it was gonna get presented to the, oh no, I talked to Vidal after the meeting, and he said, well, what about the commercial? I thought I had put commercial. I said, no, your motion was not commercial.
Or at least that was the understanding.
Yeah, nobody had a copy of the,
Yeah, and I guess that's where I need to start off. What is I need to bring to you guys, what is the
yeah, the way it was.
official
Or maybe it wasn't even
motion
mentioned, it was
from-
residential or commercial, it
It
just
says
setback.
the original deal, and the reason I know was in June, because I had received a text from somebody asking me, what's this all about on Vidal's, so that's why I know, they sent it to me June the 14th, so it must have been the second meeting in June of the council. And it said, the item read, discussion with possible action to direct the technical review board and city manager to direct staff to review and recommend changes to the Laredo Development Code for the purpose of raising the dimensional standards, setback requirements, and any matters incident thereto. So there was a broad,
So in the discussion that was done,
Residential or commercial.
right, it was all.
right, but then there was a discussion, right? And then what was the motion? That was what was written down.
When that first came up, I just recall pretty much when you stand up and talk to them, the only discussion that was really just brought up was just residential. They didn't really
We were
say
talking about
commercial.
carports.
Yeah, and they were just talking about carports and for the residents.
I don't know that they
So,
might have.
No, but what was the actual motion after the
The
discussion?
minutes.
You
The
can
actual
you can
minutes,
look at the
yeah.
minutes there of the June.
I don't think that was mentioned, corporate or anything like that. I think
We can look at the minutes.
in
huh?
general, commercial
Right
and
now?
residential.
Yeah.
No, it's because I remember, I was
It was-
literally the one talking
It was,
about for
it was,
council. We
the
didn't
whole
talk about
point,
commercial.
because we had met with Commissioner Rodriguez, and the whole issue was he defended, Councilman, that's right. I don't know why I said Commissioner.
Same.
There's a case that he was defending, hey, well, this guys need, to do whatever they want. So we talked about front setbacks, and then they throw in side and back, and so I want to believe when they say all, meaning all residential setbacks, not
All setbacks, okay.
all setbacks.
Well, then that's what we need to
within
clarify.
residential.
We
Yeah,
probably
but
need to
that's
go
never-
back
I don't think
to
we've ever
city
even had
council.
It's
an
never
issue
been-
with
And
commercial.
perhaps what we need to do is to go back to city council and clarify
No, no,
what is
I know,
the city
but I was
council.
just saying, to bring us back to what we talked about, all setbacks within the residential, because they wanted the residents to make full use of their property, but it was never mentioned anything about it.
You mentioned here all the people that applied for changes or modifications or whatever, or, adjustments.
Cases. No, and I think,
The ones that applied for. But what about the ones that didn't apply, that were penalized by the city with inspectors? Were there any,
there's still pending cases if it's.
how many were there for the year?
Oh, you're talking about, okay, well, let me get you that information. I don't have that. I should get that. Yeah, that's a good point to bring up.
Well,
Let me-
it's pretty, number one, it's pretty clear that 29 out of 34, I mean, that's a significant,
percentage that were, variances that were approved. We don't know the details. Okay.
But
It's
let the,
$300, right, to follow the variance?
Yeah, those are the ones that pay $300.
So there's a lot of people that
There's
just-
there's some people that
Yeah, let's say
don't
now
get
the setback
caught,
still, so they
and they
just-
still build it, and
Or
there's
they
some
just
people.
don't build it. You get discouraged, but
Well, let's assume there were 50
Otherwise,
people that
yeah.
were caught doing something that was not, by code, I mean, that added to the people that did apply, In other words, we're trying to find out how many people want to do adjustments to their setbacks,
Well, Mr. Cantu, I wish I had that data, but a lot of times they get stopped, and either they just don't do the work, and they wait for it to kind of slow down, and they may start up again, maybe in the back, or the issue is sometimes they just don't come in for permits. They really don't. And I made sure that these, because some of these were tabled, and then they were back on the agenda, and I said, no, I don't want any repeats. I just want to know how many cases, and what were the outcomes. That's really what I asked, and so I need to do, like you said, how many stop works, I need to find.
In my encounters with the building permits that I acquire, for the building swimming pools, I ask customers, could they have palapas for additions to the plan, the site plan? And I asked them, did you get a permit? And no, I would say about 20% of them say they added a building without a permit.
Yeah, and I think all this data, what we want to do is we want to educate, and there is a project, I know Jerry and Victor are working on it, to kind of educate the people, because give them the benefits of getting a permit. Explain to them, look, you're getting somebody that's certified, going in and checking. You're already doing an investment, thousands of dollars. You want to make sure it's done right. You get an unbiased opinion to go by there, and so that is something that the building department is trying to tackle. But that's like kind of going outside of what the scope of what we're doing. We do want them to come get permits, obviously, but not, because we're tasked to make sure that as it develops, it is the way it should be developed.
Most people that we've spoken to and ask them why they don't get a permit, the first thing is it's too expensive. And you go, what do you mean it's too expensive? Do you know that the cost of it's, no, that's not what they tell me. So as contractors, unfortunately, overprice the permit. I mean, they did it to me, when I did
And so we want to be transparent.
They tell you, it's a lot of money. They don't know the benefits of it, and they know it's expensive. So we're putting together pamphlets to go and educate people and tell them, this is what you're getting for a permit. You're going to get inspections to ensure that the work being done is up to code. 1. 2, that if that contractor ever falls back on you, they have a bonded insurance with us. But if you don't get a permit, you don't need to present that.
When you apply for a permit, when the contractor applies for a permit, the value that he gives to the addition is his cost or what he's selling it for?
It should be
Materials.
It should be how much
Materials?
his material and labor.
But what is your all's price?
But the thing is, it's pretty low.
$50, $100.
It's
Sometimes it might.
pretty low. The
So you
lowest
advertise it
permit
almost like a
is
service. Hey,
Yeah,
pay me $50.
that's right.
not only that, but you don't get away with improvement, like you take palapa or swimming pool or things like that. Well, the tax appraisal district is gonna find out through aerial that, hey, you did improvements, you're gonna be charged more.
Yeah.
Guess
That's
what?
a given.
Guess what? The bank's not gonna evaluate, did you get a permit? The tax appraisal district comes to the office and gets all those things, which one of these got permits? So then they don't certify the ones that didn't get permits, and guess what? When you sell it, that addition, guess what? You're not getting the appraised value for it. Why? They're already doing that. So the benefit to getting a permit is, te va a valer a la larga, is gonna raise the value when you wanna sell it, if you wanna sell it. So that's not being communicated to the public. So there's a lot of pros that
Sure.
public needs to know, but anyway.
That includes upgrading the website. That includes updating the website.
Yeah.
Updating the website, I
I'm
don't
getting,
know.
I'm getting on
To everything, the
That's
image
right.
and the use. And
It's the cafe.
So one of the questions, to get back to tackling this
Okay.
setback thing, one of the questions was, what are other cities doing, right?
Right.
So that's what I was trying to look at right now on my phone. I was trying to look at like my calendar. Just picking random cities, but have we done that? Has anybody done that yet?
You know what, I was supposed to do that for this meeting, and I apologize I didn't do it, we had talked about it. I've got setbacks for like 6 different cities already that I've already compiled
Okay.
for something I was fighting the planning department on. So I compiled this.
But what even then, even
Yeah,
though,
that's good.
why should we be followers and not leaders,
No, I'm not.
That's my,
Yeah, but I'm just trying to see where, I was at that meeting on a different a different thing, but, I mean, I heard their
It's
comment.
social proof. Yeah,
it's-
they just don't wanna be like, hey, what if,
Well, we
Yeah,
have,
nobody in the world does
I'm
this
all,
except for Laredo.
yeah, I'm all for that too, but,
we have unique situations here in Laredo. Very unique to, compared to other cities, you know. The availability of land and who controls all the land, you know.
It's very expensive and we're very,
The landowner.
My
and our
biggest, my
median
biggest
income is very
gripe,
low, so.
my biggest gripe on the way the ordinance, what they allow you to do in the backyard, is that everything is geared towards, it's more of a, and I hate to say the word affluent, in other words, for the guy that wants to put his palapa,
Yeah.
for the guy that wants to put in his, cabaña, and it's not geared towards the person that wants to add some living area to their home. So I think that's my biggest gripe about this whole thing, is that, most people want living space, and land is getting so expensive that, that people, originally, when people go out there and buy my homes, in other words, unless somebody would, assuming that it was available, right? If the ordinance were available today, I would never build a home that would be for sale with an aggressive use of the setback. However, if my customer came in and wanted an aggressive use of the backyard, then I would build it. So normally, when like the young couples have been buy the homes, they're always thinking about their backyard and the use of the the use of the backyard and that kind of stuff. But then later, then you get all the additions and all this stuff and all the things that you cannot do. So this ordinance.
What do you say to the argument, and I don't mean to interrupt you,
The argument that I'm saying is that people should have more ability to utilize the land the way they see fit. And right now, the way it's being, with safeguards, in other words, to make sure that we have the right separation from building to building and that kind of stuff, where today they're not allowed to use their land.
Okay, but the argument to, if there's R1s, and they're allowed to be building more,
Right.
and now you put 2 and 3 families. Well, I bought a house in an R1, and all of a sudden my neighbor, there's like 20 people living next door. What's the whole point of the land development code and the use? It's you're controlling how you suppose. There's no,
I've
it's
seen
more
roof
enforcement, I
homes
know.
built on a 42-foot lot. I've seen them because I bought one during '08 and
So-
'09 and all that. That was already for, I forget where it was, in Santa Fe, somewhere over there. It's like 2,800 square foot on this little tiny lot. So in other words, if you want to move a whole family in, you can do it on the existing setbacks. The extra one room that you can add in the backyard, you can't, put a whole other family back there. I think mostly everybody's arguments against the setbacks, from what I've seen, everybody that's against it, it's all about personal preference. They say, no, it's because people should be allowed to use their backyard, or people need space, and everybody likes to barbecue in Laredo, and everybody likes this. When you're going and buying a piece of property, that the latest subdivision in North Laredo, $11.50 a square foot,
No, it's ridiculous.
Tommy's, is, it's not up to us to dictate, the city, anybody else to dictate to somebody how they should live. The guys in New York live in high rises. They choose to live there because you can't afford a backyard over there. We're getting to the same point here in Laredo. So it's kind of like you should be able to choose how you want to
I
live.
think that's fine, I'm just explaining the way the land development codes, I guess, for lack of a better word, like mentality, or the way it was written, or how it was developed. What was the thinking back then, how it evolved?
Let me tell you,
I recognize that there is issues with the cost of land, and that's something Laredo has to address.
Prior to Betty Flores being mayor, there was really no emphasis on parks and that kind of stuff. No emphasis on parks, community centers, and all that other stuff. Today, most all communities have a park real close by to their property. So the issues of when this land development code was put together and today's issues are completely different. And because now we're probably, one of the most aggressive cities as far as open space. If you look at that comprehensive plan, when they compared
By
Laredo.
aggressive, what do you mean?
Meaning that-
Restrictive or
Aggressive
allowed?
meaning requiring more park space. In other words, if you look at the tables that were presented by, when they compared us to San Antonio,
Okay.
El Paso and some of those areas, Laredo had more park space, open space
Then,
yeah,
then those people that, cities that had 1 million people.
yes, per household.
Yeah.
There were more. So the issues today are different than when they started in '79 or whatever, that you know, when they started enforcing,
Sure.
you know, the zoning and all that other
Sure.
stuff. You know, we got totally, so I don't know, I think from.
So let's move it back around to setbacks because we couldn't,
I think
we're
we-
not tasked to redo the.
Right, I think we should continue on our, this is my opinion is that we should continue on what was voted on, and then maybe supply the information that they were asking for.
Presentation and a
As
better.
far as.
So then we
That would
need to
be my
tackle,
recommendation.
what is the current ordinance for carport?
Yeah.
What is the proposed? And what, if any, the BOA, and then move on to the front and the safety?
Yeah, the same- the same
And the
thing.
wording, so that we could go ahead and,
When you set up the setbacks, that doesn't mean you have to utilize it all, no?
correct. See, the argument is that if you allow,
Build up to it.
right, there's an argument that if you allow more, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna build more.
Right.
Because the more build, it's gonna cost more, it's gonna be taxed more. It just means that you're able to shift, like, the structure to the front, and therefore have a bigger backyard, because the lots are already getting small.
So, to play devil's advocate on that subject, the complete flip side of it would be somebody would argue and say, well, if you push it all the way to 5 feet in the back, theoretically, somebody can go
Build,
the entire house, 5 feet side, 5 foot side, 5 foot back, and just build a whole structure all the way to the back.
that's correct.
Theoretically, somebody
Somebody's gonna
could
do
do
it.
that.
Yeah.
And there's.
So now,
You can, scan the aerials,
Mhm.
and you'll see it today.
Yeah.
I mean, as you can see it on Quail Creek, and the reason I remember is because when I first started with Armadillo, we started building in Quail Creek, and all of a sudden this guy built his house all the way to 5 feet. At Aquero, I
Yeah.
built a home a few years ago, and I don't know why I was looking at the aerials because I was preparing the map for the water, you know, to submit for the pressure test for the water for Schoenstatt, and it was like, what, this guy built, you know?
He added to it, he added to that.
Want to do it?
Yeah, so I'm saying just the flip side of it is somebody could argue, well, if we allow generally just the setbacks, then you're opening it up for somebody to be able to
Yeah, someone's
use
gonna
the
do it.
entirety of their backyard.
Yeah.
Now, so there are safeguards that we need to think about from that perspective to say, the setbacks are this, but, you know, you still must leave, 50% of your backyard as green. So, yes, you can extend on one side, but, not do this thing where now you're drastically increasing the density of an R1 neighborhood.
We're not increasing the density.
No, you're increasing the square
You're
footage.
possible.
Well, the density of the.
Per capita,
Of
per
the
house.
homes.
Yeah, but
Whether it's density of people or not, that's beside the point.
Well,
To me, it's the density of the footprint of the home
The density
versus the
of
green
structure.
space.
But Edward,
That's-
but you can do that right now. In other words, right now, you can add a detached structure all the way to 2.5 feet from the back of your property.
That's
To the,
that's
to
open.
the, to the, yeah, to the
It's
full,
open.
to the full length.
But it's gotta be a palapa. It
Yeah,
has to
just
be,
a-
no walls. But the issue
No, I
is
don't
that,
think, no.
No, you do.
It can be
An
no.
accessory building,
Accessory building.
a tool shed.
Yeah, the one
well,
that,
without plumbing.
Oh, yeah.
You can't put plumbing. The moment you put plumbing, then you're basically
Yeah, but-
making it a
Yeah,
habit.
if a
There's
guy,
a bunch
if
of
a guy
guys
adds to
out
his
there.
backyard,
So
it's not
Palapas
just
have
gonna be
plumbing?
living space, it's not
Yeah.
gonna be. What's
But
that?
they're open.
no.
But yeah, really.
It
Yeah,
isn't,
but I think the issue is not too much opinion. My opinion. I don't think the issue is too much about like palapas and such on the backyards. That's really flexible with our current ordinance. I think the issue for the rear is more on an addition.
well, that's a whole issue. In other words, that's my
Yeah.
whole point. And my whole point is.
And the
Yeah,
back
we're telling
that's
them-
what we're.
Yeah, we're telling them,
Edward was
if you wanna
saying
build
that.
something on the back, it's gotta be recreational. So,
Yeah, his point is, it's geared towards the guy who can
That's
afford
affluent, yeah,
the luxury of building a palapa. And
Not
not for the
somebody
guy
that
that
wants to
needs to
bring-
add an extra room because he has a growing family, can't afford a new house.
Like I talked to a guy from the Border Patrol, about a month ago, because they were looking for sites along the river to put their towers. In other words, they've got funding already to put all their towers, and, after we finished the conversation and we drove around the area, the guy says, oh, I'm looking at adding to my, I wanna add to my structure. I said, well, you're gonna have to go up, so get with Westwind to see, I said, you can call Bernald, to see if they'll let you see the foundation sets, but it'd be easier for him to add to the backyard because he lives close to
Yeah,
North Central Park. In other words, the guy doesn't care about
yeah.
his backyard.
You walk out and it's your backyard, yeah.
Yeah, he's there close to, and right now they can't do that. They're gonna have to, like Mr. Pinzon said, we'll go vertical. He said it at the meeting,
Yeah.
but, when you've got an existing structure and you're wanting to go vertical, there's a big cost difference in just, adding a 12 by 12 room in the back.
The only thing that
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
the only thing that when Edward was mentioning, one idea that I think maybe what he's trying to allude to is, I know one of the comments from PSE was the lifestyle, the backyard, this and that. Can we, I guess I'm just trying to find like a middle ground. Can we do something where it's still the same setbacks, the 20, the such, but have it where it's a percentage? Where like that, you know what, if you want to do that addition, that extra room, you can do it, but at least don't overtake your full backyard. So I guess where I'm getting at, it almost, an option that just goes halfway where you still have your green space, but it's flexible enough to do your addition. Because when it comes to carports and palapas, I mean the palapas and such, that's not a.
It makes sense, but my only beef with that is that I just think, who the hell do we think we are to tell people how they need to live and how they should be? It's like, hey, I think you should have some backyard space. My thing is, what is the big objection from a safety standpoint, from a engineering standpoint, and what's the big deal about using more of your backyard space?
I would argue that my argument to that would be, if I bought my house in my neighborhood
Yes.
with a certain density in mind,
Yeah.
Yes.
now all of a sudden, I've got guys that are
Yes.
completely doubling their density next to
We're
me.
talking about-
If I wanted to
Yeah.
live in a more dense area, I would have bought in
Exactly.
an R2 or whatever, somebody that's a more dense area.
Yeah, I agree.
I like the fact that now if I want to go buy a 100 by 200,
Yeah.
lot in a big part of town, because hey, I want to have that open space.
Yeah.
I want my neighbor to be over there and I want to
Yeah.
have that open space. But now I reduce those setbacks.
Yeah.
Now my neighbor is right there, and it completely takes away from the purpose of how I bought my house.
Exactly.
So I think there is, and I'm not in disagreement with it.
Yeah.
I just think there needs to be a fine balance. I don't want to go from this way
Yeah.
to that way.
And we look at
I'll make it up.
existing there.
The other part that.
And I think, from the ride that I got from PNC, I think that
Yeah.
Yes.
that was some of their concern.
Yeah.
That's the ride that I
It was
got.
Vanessa's. But
But-
I'll make one point. If you look at all the site plans for all the huge lots that are around town, they utilize all the freaking lots. I mean, you go to
Yeah,
Plantation,
they need a bigger house.
yeah, you go to Plantation, and instead of them being like 8 feet away from each other or 10 feet away from each other on the houses, man, they use every single piece on the, and then they'll leave, the majority of them are gonna leave that minimum 20 foot in the back, and then they add all their accessory structures. So people want to be able to use their land. That's the only, that's the only.
Correct. And again-
How much yard did she have in her back, in her, in her
But
backyard? She had
I guess 2
very
points
little.
is going
She had like
back
9,000
with
square foot lot.
Edward saying, a comment that I mentioned before, that the only concern that I would have, that I would make a comment, like whenever things get presented formally, even with city council, is at the end of the day, if it's half or the full thing or whatever, the one thing I know that will happen is the per capita, the water demand, the sewer, man, that's gonna raise, and that's something that needs to be considered.
Yeah, that's another ripple effect to it.
Well, if you want to move to a situation where you have more ample space like you want, yeah.
Because when we.
You have HOAs that have those restrictions also.
Correct, and I know HOAs control, we talked about that last time, there's HOHs that, I mean, HOAs, I'm sorry, that no matter what we do with the setback, we're still gonna control what I can do. And that's why, personally for me, I'm content with where I'm at, because there is control, some control,
Create more
right?
bathrooms.
But, you know,
So,
a lot of this is gonna be in the areas that don't have HOAs.
Yeah.
And then, what if I was the guy in the Heights that bought this big house with all the space? And I'm playing devil's advocate here, but what if I'm that guy, and then that's the situation that happens, there's no HOAs, and, I mean. But I think, again, that's why there's spaces in there, because, you know,
Yeah.
there's a limit to push to, and it's built to the 20 right
Yeah.
now, because there was a need to have that backyard space or whatever.
Don't
Again,
see.
for the record, I'm not in disagreement with what we're doing, I just don't wanna go from here
Yeah.
to here.
But
We need to maybe put some,
if that's the kind
things in there.
of house you want, for instance, you would start looking for a place that has HOAs, you know? I mean, you're not going to just.
You just
But
have.
what he's saying is, he's already there.
Yeah.
Now by changing this, now you're forcing me to move.
You know what the comprehensive.
there's a lot of
plan is?
existing homeowners, I mean, there's a lot
Well,
of
we had three,
existing
we had three,
neighborhoods.
we basically had, or we had two recommendations, right? Basically. We had a recommendation for existing and a recommendation for new developments.
Mhm.
So, and the existing took it all the way to the back, nothing in the front. And the new developments, we said, take it all the way to the back and, you know, still take it to in other words, use more of it.
Pues I guess that's what I need to document.
And I agree, I think a new neighborhood will create their own HOA and say, we don't want to do that. We want to market this
Yeah.
way, so we're going to create,
You have to
even
market
though the
the
city
site.
says you can
Yeah.
do that, we don't want that. You're going to live here, you're going to do this.
Yeah.
I agree. That's how, but that's from this point forward.
Yeah, you're talking about the old guys.
Well,
Yeah,
we've got to just keep that in
in
mind.
your neighborhood,
Yeah.
for instance.
But in my neighborhood,
You have
then
an
there would be
HOA,
an HOA. I mean,
But assuming
certainly
you
if
didn't have
this
one.
change would go
Yeah.
through, then you would have to have an HOA meeting for the HOAs to agree, hey, we want to change to that.
Yeah.
And everybody would have to vote and so on, but.
The
lot of people
other,
might
the other
like it.
benefit of changing to this is that it's gonna hopefully reduce the risk of busting the setbacks and all that stuff, because you're dealing with 2.5 feet right now, and now you're moving it to 5 feet. So when people are building their, they're building their attached garages, they think the property line, maybe the setbacks, the pins in the back don't line up, and there's some subdivisions where you'll have one lot here, and then there's the other lot on the other side didn't line up, the back property pin doesn't line up,
Yeah.
and they think that their property is the opposite property pin. So
Edward reluctantly,
here,
he reluctantly voted for the 5 foot, he would have rather had a 10 foot, and I think that's still kind of irking you like that. And- and I'm the same way.
Well, I just think it was, I mean, and I voted for it, and that's fine. I'm okay with, I mean, again, to kind of continue on the subject, we're not changing our vote here, right? So
we're discussing.
So what are we trying to accomplish?
Here, what we're trying to
Today.
accomplish is the wording.
How are we gonna present
How
it?
are we gonna present?
And
What was existing, existing ordinance? Are we proposing that this new ordinance to be is specifically only for carports, and then it's specifically only for front, and then it's specifically only for.
And that was direction that we got from the city manager's office, or the.
Yeah, to be able to have a more concise presentation and not go all over the.
Well, because I sat at that P and Z meeting, and the vibe I was getting from some of the questions that were shooting at us, or shooting back at you all, was.
we never got to the chart.
Huh?
We never got to the
So
chart.
then maybe we need to do a chart.
We never got to the chart.
We never got to the chart. In other words, because.
The argument was more green space, pretty.
Yes, in other
Well,
words.
the argument to me, the vibe I was getting was, their concern was this whole density thing. You're pushing this way, and you're pushing that way, and what is that gonna do to, how the other person that's living next door to you? which gets into the whole, in my opinion, the first thing that came to my mind was density.
Yeah.
He's got a density concern, or they've got a density concern, whoever was making that comment.
Social unrest, they mentioned the social unrest.
Yeah, and that, so I would think that if it's getting pushed back at us, and that was the vibe that was thrown back at us, well, then we either need to be able to address that, because no matter what we go with and whatever dog and pony show we do over here, they're still gonna have that same question.
It's not
We
gonna
need to address
happen
it.
in Laredo. We have
It's
too
gonna
many
affect
people that
everybody
are economically disadvantaged and that they won't be able to afford that. You know, there are gonna be very few people that are gonna take advantage of it, really, too bad, I think.
No, but there is a need, I think there is a need to clarify what is allowed and what is not allowed. Cause let's face it, there was an influx of a different culture coming into Laredo, that all of a sudden, hey, they're used to, hey, I can do what I want with my property.
Yeah.
And we need to clarify it in black and white what you can and you cannot do.
Yeah.
And so that's not the way it was originally written. So it can be clear as day and say, you can't do this. That's really what we need to start doing,
We've got.
I think.
We got like 30 minutes left, and what I was thinking was, should we define, this is what I'm thinking, because we never have enough time here to do anything, and I think that's why we keep coming back to the same meetings. Should we define, maybe we can all vote on how we're gonna present it, and maybe an outline of what a presentation is gonna look like? And then we can put together a little group, I'll volunteer, it has to be 4 or fewer of us, that will meet.
Just put it in the deal.
Going forward here, we can put a deadline of what we have to have it done. And then we can-
Well, this is, we had this at the meeting the other day.
Yeah.
That would be part of the presentation, but my point is, we always come and, we're real macro guys, micro, and we come and we look at every single little detail.
Yeah.
But then nobody else outside of our discussion has any idea what the hell we're talking about, because we don't have time to go through a 4-hour deal with it, so. That's my opinion.
You want me to open up something,
Yeah, just go into the one that's on setbacks.
the one that says Plan and Zoning Commission?
No, setbacks, there's a file setbacks, and then there's the, exhibit one, the ones that says 6012, those, go to the first, like the first one.
You know, what you might wanna show on these, are these all the same?
No, it's, one was for like a new plat,
Oh.
the existing plat, and then this other one is what I think that most builders are doing, you know, or what's available today, right?
What might be beneficial to you on these, maybe to show like a front cross-section. Somebody might say proposed covered open porch. What does that mean? What does that?
Yeah, get the front and side views,
Yeah, showing
the
the,
elevation.
yeah.
Like a mini elevation to
Like a little mini elevation.
Yeah, that's really what they want.
Remember we talked about it when we were talking about showing it, we drew it up, showed what it looked like with the columns for it.
yeah, para que pudieran ver.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where you have that, and then you can do a property
While
line.
he's drawing that, also on that, on the corners, yeah, we need to show in there, and I don't know if that one is, well, that's the way we always do it, right? But I think there's some requirements where the garage or the driveway has to be, I don't know if it's.
I don't know how they attach it, but whatever.
45 feet.
This thing was the front setback.
The triangle, the visibility triangle, this is 25 feet.
The
From
distance
this,
between property line
You gotta have
and
at least 25 feet where you start.
could be from
45 feet
overhang
from the corner.
Yes.
to property, depending
Where
on
you
the,
start.
on the.
So
on the-
this curve cut has to flare out.
Have to do
Yeah,
with-
sometimes
From here this way
Well,
to the property
property
line
line,
needs to be
or
25
sometimes
feet.
it's overhang.
Okay, so does that one meet those requirements? It probably
I
does.
would need.
What distance, from here to here, you said?
Here is, this is 15,
That's kind of what we were showing.
From
Yeah,
here,
that is for sure, because I got 10 feet on
or
the.
from here,
so this is 15 and.
Oh, I
this
see, I
is-
see.
It probably is 25.
Well, whatever the case is,
Yeah.
you cannot exceed past that, right? That's kind of the idea.
So,
yes,
so yes, perhaps also the elevation, front and side views with this. So I don't know if, because that's really a concern in, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if I got the same.
There's one that says, the one that has no dialogue,
Does that, I
the
know
one that
it's
says
discussion
existing
from
plat and new plat. So like, right, that one that you have in your hand right there, that one, there's 3 different exhibits. This one is the current ordinance today. You know, there's 20 in the front, 20 in the back, 5 on the side yard setbacks. And then we had for new plats, and then for existing plats. And the difference between the new plat and the existing plat was the 10 feet that we were allowing in the front. Where nobody wanted to vote on adding to the front of the houses.
So what's the difference between these two here?
Oh, the
Side
difference is, you have to maintain the visibilities.
So then you're not proposing,
The corners do not have the ability.
these guys cannot cover porch?
Cannot go past the 20 feet,
Right.
period.
This side.
Yeah.
In other words, you're sunk if you've got the corner.
So now the corner lots are not gonna be as buildable.
No, it's gonna be more buildable, because you can go all the way to the back.
No, but these guys
Just the
have
front.
an advantage of coming into the side or whatever.
Yeah, in other words, you can't build more to the front, but you can build to the, to the back.
We should
Like, I don't know if this is beneficial, you know,
to do a smaller version of this.
showing something like that.
Like new subdivisions, and you have the
Everything in
proposed
one
and the
exhibit.
existing. We're just proposing the existing, so they could see, well, this is what it
Side
looked
by
like,
side.
this is what it looks like now, yeah. And then
Everything in one page.
Yeah, and then the
Well, I'm sure we can
existing,
do that, yeah.
yeah. And then that way at least they can, because I think they're looking to compare, oh,
And-
this is how it
And that
is, this
loses
is how it is
people,
now.
yes.
Yeah, so, okay, so put all
Like,
three, put all three
This
in
one
one.
here,
Or just 2. Like
Well,
talking
no,
about
no,
it,
we
you can
should
see
be- we
what the
should-
corners look like now and what they're proposed to
We
look
should
like.
put all 3. In other words, this is the current ordinance, but you can
What's
do
the
it.
third one?
Well, one was for new plats,
Uh-huh.
and the third one was for existing plats.
And what's the second one?
The existing.
I'm saying, because you keep saying there's 3, but I didn't know.
Well, there were 3 exhibits. One is what you can do today before
Oh,
any
okay,
changes.
gotcha.
Then the other one was what you can do
Oh, yeah.
in.
On existing.
On existing, and the third one was what you can do on new plats. So put all 3 in one 11 by 17,
but
Yeah,
the corner doesn't change.
no, it always stays
the
the
corner
same,
doesn't change,
except for the back.
right?
So you don't have to show the corner.
No, I think we need to show the corner.
We have to show one back.
No, we
No,
have to
no,
show
Show
the
both of them,
front.
the corner because of the back.
No, because, so we can show that there's not gonna be any visibility issues even if we do this.
Right.
Yeah,
And what I'll have them do is I'll have them put all 3
But it's
in one page.
just the other way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
covered open porch, okay, yeah, that's right.
I
But
don't know, I
this
just
is,
thought maybe something like that would be, I don't know if they're not gonna understand what's a covered open porch. Well, it's a porch that looks like
Carport.
this that you can,
We just
It's
put
open.
covered carport right?
Well, the definition is at least you can only have one side.
what's the technical term you all use in the department as far as?
Carport has to have,
Carport?
3 open sides.
Three
Carport.
sides open, nothing more than
Something
2.5
that the
feet.
P&Z guys in the,
Could we simply just call it a carport?
yeah,
Yeah.
So the carport is covered, right, always?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
think
not
you
like
put
a
a
carport, I guess
carport.
if it wasn't covered, it'd be a
Right,
driveway.
right,
carport.
And
I think
Maybe we
it's
should
one
call
the
it
same as.
carport, just so
And
that
we
somebody
can put a
doesn't.
different
So
little,
change it from.
Proposed carport.
and hatch it differently, you know what I mean? So that way that one is like that, and then the other one maybe is X's or something. So that it won't look like it's all enclosed.
Proposed covered carport or proposed
It's
carport?
already covered.
I think carport
Proposed
will
carport.
automatically,
It's a car covered.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a carport, and by
It's
definition of the land
proposed
development
carport.
code, it's 3 sides open.
Now, I should mention that when we first started, that's all we were looking at,
Carports.
carports.
Yeah.
Well, not,
You open
who's
it up,
we? Who's we?
it's-
We're we, not we. Is this we, right? Like the staff.
I'm telling you, I was there at the meeting, and the discussions,
rest of them.
the discussions that I had with the council people, the Elma, is, George Altgeld, when you talk to Vidal, that would put it in there, there were all, well, Vilma didn't say 0, but on her building, when she went before BOA, she had a 0, you know.
You know, what he's just trying to say is, hey, the only thing that we're gonna concede to That's why we're separating them. It's because we're gonna go and say, hey, we agree with the carport. That other stuff, these other guys invented. It's what he's gonna try to say. I mean, that's, you're just.
Oh, you're talking about
I'm not
staff.
warning, I'm just saying.
Yes,
That's fine.
If you look at the BOA, the one that has the most denials
Yeah,
is the front yard setback carport.
that's true. And the other ones, they have approval,
They
kind of
grow.
makes sense.
That's
It makes sense to do a front yard setback or rear
And
yard
that's what I
setback.
was
Aside of that, like we've gotten people who ask the question, hey, can I do a carport? And that's the response, no, you can't.
Yeah.
We do get like just verbally, we can't
yeah.
document that, but I've seen in with my own two eyes, like people is like, hey, I want to do a carport.
But I suspect that all those are probably esquinas.
Tírame la esquina.
No, you had some guys.
Yeah, because when we
Massive
were,
structure
yeah,
right to the property.
no, when I was there in BOA for the few meetings, like we had, and era conocido. It's like, sorry, I mean, the guy was in a corner and he wanted to extend his structure
all the way to the
all
property.
the way to the fence and his overhang was over the
Oh, yeah.
fence.
Dile que, bueno, porque compré right away para que sea su propiedad. And
I'm
that's
just
okay.
saying, so I think that some of those are probably
We were
corner.
not looking, originally, when I met with my councilwoman, we were not looking at special cases of carports and stuff like that, or.
You were just in general.
What we were looking at, being the fact that land is so expensive nowadays,
Yeah.
that we want to give homeowners the advantage of being able to use the land to the maximum. And it's a win-win situation because the revenues that would bring in would be great for the city too, you know. But that was the whole purpose. It wasn't because of carports.
Sure, but that is in direct conflict to the way the land development code, the comprehensive plan was at the time. So it's not a,
Well, we're trying to
oh yeah,
change it.
simple solution.
We're
I'm
trying
not,
to change it.
well, and I guess they want a better argument because like Mr. Ochoa pointed out, I've heard that argument.
Thank you.
I already built the house
Okay,
here,
so
all of a sudden.
the whole discussion here for the remaining time is how we're gonna do the presentation.
Correct.
And it's clear that staff is against going to the back. I guess that's what I'm understanding, because up to this point, I understood the staff was okay with going to the back. Has staff changed their mind on that?
No, we haven't said anything about the back,
No, we were talking about the front.
the front carport. That was the only thing that I want to make sure that, not make sure, to show really that the most problem we have is in the carport.
Yeah, we don't, on the front, yeah, we don't have an issue with the carport.
Yeah, I'm shocked that we have enclosed buildings on the front that are getting approved. I mean, I never saw any cases in the
I
meeting.
had some problems in my front yard once that were outside of the survey. So I would imagine people like that are also coming.
But the front is not all the way to 10 feet or all the way to the property line.
Get some
It's a few
columns, you
feet.
get 3 feet.
Oh, it's where they busted, where
It's
they,
like-
Yeah.
it was a busting of
There
the,
was an incident that happened in Belmar where there was a foundation already in an existing house, and they were remodeling, and they wanted to go a little further to the front, and they couldn't because of the setbacks, but the foundation was already there. It was built 30 years ago.
oh yeah, once
So
you
they had
take
to go for
it,
variance.
yeah, once you take the structure out, yeah, you're back to square one.
Yeah, well, and they've gotten pretty smart, they're like, tumba todo menos esta pared. Hey, part of the structure's still there, and so they kinda, there's ways, but the point also is, the front is usually a few feet, and that's what they're opposed.
So is staff, I guess, is staff against,
No,
I'm just asking.
no, we're not.
Okay, so then,
Planning and zoning thought we were proposing this. That was the only thing that.
Yeah,
I didn't catch that nuance.
Yes, it's just that they say, no, pues what our building is saying they want this. No, this was from the committee. We were only here for the carport, but the committee said that this is what they
If they
want.
expressed any opinions during all of our meetings, in other words, it was a personal opinion, and the official position is gonna be, hey, yes, we're talking about the carports and that's it. The rest of the stuff, I mean, you know,
But are y'all against the back part?
No,
Okay.
no,
but
So
they're not
then-
saying they're for it either.
no.
Yeah, they don't have an official position. That's what they're trying to say.
I think that if you look
No, we're
at,
trying to say that we're not against the TRB's recommendation. However, that wasn't our intent. That clearly came from the TRB's committee, that's all. We're not against it.
See, And
Because
That's fine.
The perception
But
was
talking
that-
to the council people before, like I called the council, a couple of the council people before coming to the first meeting. I spoke to Charlie, I spoke to George, I spoke to Vidal, I spoke briefly to a meeting that I wasn't supposed to be at. You remember the meeting? And I spoke to all the council, and the council people wanted for the residents to be able to utilize their land the most. And
Okay,
They're talking about-
let me be as blunt as possible.
The question is, what's gonna sell
Everything
it
else.
easier?
Well,
Concord? Is Concord gonna sell it? I don't think so. But
okay, so let me be as blunt as possible. See, again, this is a planning and zoning department's jurisdiction. You understand? So TRB is being handled by the building department. So there's already like, okay, ¿me entiendes? So I'm being as blunt as possible. So I guess since we are, I guess, in here, which they were invited to, and I reminded them every time, they were invited to, I send the agenda.
But that's been the deal from.
They could have been in this discussion all along. And that's the whole thing right now, is like, hey,
Okay, so
it needs to go to.
So I guess, so from our standpoint, is that you neither confirm nor deny, como dice. I neither confirm nor deny what my position is. He said, I don't know what my position is. I'll know when I get to the meeting. So from our standpoint is, okay, then we need to put these 3 exhibits in one page.
Yeah.
That's number one.
We need to put the purpose, why we want this. That,
Okay.
of course, we were asked by city council, we need to clearly state that. We need to preface it, this whole presentation, that city council directed. Here's when they said it, here's what they said exactly. We need to do that.
So,
And then,
motion. In other words, what were the minutes?
yeah, what were the minutes?
That should be one of the opening slides
Yes.
of our presentation.
Correct.
The first, yeah.
We were tasked by city council, by this meeting,
Review.
whatever, to
And
address this
then
issue.
TRB can say, hey, I talked to so-and-so, this is whatever. It doesn't matter, but the point is, that we clearly define, this is what it exists, this is what we're proposing, this is why, here's what the Board of Adjustment, everything has to have, and then we also have a presentation on front setbacks. Then we also have a presentation on rear setbacks. That way, we don't confuse the items, the issues. Again, we need to address why zone, and why not zone, and why use.
That's where I think that Johnny, putting the 3 exhibits in one page makes a lot of sense.
It does.
So in other words, here are the minutes, why this is before you, and then, okay, boom, here's where, what you
Another thing,
here's what you can do in the future, if you guys recommend it.
Right,
But
right,
our recommendation is this,
Right,
and
right,
then
right.
council decides what they wanna.
correct.
And-
And let me bring up another point. The use versus the zone issue. If they bring it up, at least we want to say why.
Well, we
the
need to go
use-
over the chart. I mean, the chart.
Yes.
We didn't get a chance to even
Correct.
discuss the chart.
Correct.
And then
But,
the chart wasn't printing properly. We had to make sure that the chart.
but just so you understand, this is for residential at least, or at least that's what, unless we need to go back and say,
Well, I think we've already moved this.
this train has left, is what you're saying?
See, in other words, we need to continue with the path and then, find out if we need to go over the commercial, but at
Okay.
least get the residential
Going.
Get it.
Okay, so the reason I bring that up is because the uses on I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's all right.
the reason I bring it up, the use, because residential can be used in,
I know,
A
and we
multitude of
discussed this, In other words, we discussed this, that there's B1.
These are issues that are affecting the whole country, not just Laredo. These are things that are going on, and you see that in Bill magazines, what's happening all over the country. They're discussing issues like this, maximum use of your property because the values of land are so high nowadays. Even they're going to allow 3-story houses,
okay.
Do we allow
So
three-story
then
houses?
that,
And our mission here is to do what's best for the homeowner and the city.
correct, and we need to express that by, hey, let me bring that, what you call the What was it,
So-
item, or what was it, an issue, or what was it,
You know,
In the magazine, you said?
it's a national.
maybe I can put that in the,
Housing,
That's where the comparables to other cities, that was one of the requests, would be the topic. The only one that I don't think we have really the tools to answer is the
Economic impact.
Yeah, that one
no, the social, it wasn't an economic, everybody understands that economically, it's gonna be better for the, you know, for the city as far as revenue. In other words, they hired that guy that came on Zini or whatever it was, and he said, you can.
the square footage of land,
Yeah, you
Per
can
building.
see, yeah, he drew a graph and he says, look, here's where you're losing money and here's where you're making money as a city, because, you know, where it's in other words, a taxable, your tax per square foot. In other words, so what happens is when you have these big lots, a lot of times the tax per square foot is less.
Yeah, he was
Then-
promoting more like the downtown.
Yeah,
The-
they were promoting density. In other words, is it an asset or liability? In other words, when you have a road, is a road an asset or a liability? And the answer is more
depends on
than
the
that.
asset.
No, I think it's a liability to the city.
Is
Because
he
you
getting
have to-
constrained or not?
Because you have to maintain it for perpetuity. And It's a liability for the city, it's a liability for the citizen.
If it's not making any money, it's a liability, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so the more streets that we have, and the more yard we have, it's a lower tax base for the.
So-
city.
so todos se estacionen a 3 cuadras y se vengan a pie.
So,
Yeah.
I guess the question is, when is it gonna be placed back on the agenda?
I wanna have a complete presentation, okay? So, we can work on it, if you guys wanna meet again, staff is
I make a
open.
motion that we get a small group, a small group to
Who's gonna volunteer for the small group?
volunteer, so long as I'm still on the committee.
I need,
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a new councilman.
Me, Chewy,
You
You think?
tú, Benny,
Yeah.
can you do it?
Yeah.
What day?
What day and what time though?
Yeah, that's what I need to know.
You tell me, this week I'm shot, but next week, tomorrow morning I'll send an email to
Well, this week is only 2 days.
Right, I'm shot, I'm going out of town tomorrow, and then Friday's payroll.
No, I ain't viernes. Till next week.
No, hombre, me da miedo buscar a la casa.
Tell them that you got incorporated by the government, you're on furlough now, come on over.
Okay, so I need to get a date.
Or something?
What's
That's
his
probably
name?
the city based on lunch, eh?
Tony Barrera.
Yes.
No, I'm saying we can meet in a restaurant or somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, because of a.
I need
because of a
space to
freaking-
rent it all.
Because of freaking check, what are you doing here, my house?
Friday and Monday I'm out.
Fix at the office, gang.
I'll be back Tuesday.
Creía que no le había pagado. He was looking for me at that.
Tuesday?
When you,
Wednesday?
But, hello?
I'm available whenever you want to.
Not trespassing, sir.
when are you available, Benny?
I'm available this week.
Oh, this week.
All this week I'm not working.
You only got 2 more days.
How about next week?
Next week, after 4:30, I'm
After
available.
4:30.
Except for Tuesday, I have a doctor's appointment.
How about lunch? They were asking about.
Yeah, we can do it lunch.
Yeah, working lunch.
Lunch on Tuesday, Wednesday?
We'll take.
Can we get it done in 1 hour?
If we go with a.
Yeah. Can we go with it?
We need to be prepared.
Yeah, and I guess we'll start taking some of the stuff and then we'll
I'll
distribute.
prepare the
to everybody,
exhibits, and I'll try to send them ahead of time.
And I'll take the laptop so I can type out exactly what we
We'll do
want
the
to say,
comps.
so that we can bring it back to maybe a special meeting here or something, or the next meeting, and vote on it, so that then I can take it to the, because that's what I want, because I don't want any surprises, and I want to be able to know and get prepared, what is it that we're gonna do. So
I'll try to put some numbers together also.
So we need to answer the question.
What's the tax to the city? In other words, what's the, for all entities, right? In other words, what's the taxing revenues for all entities on existing? And what's the potential tax, assuming they go 100% aggressive?
Right, and so we also need to answer the question, why based on the use and not the zone? So we need to be prepared to give them an answer.
They didn't bring up that question. We never even got to the.
I'm not saying we need to bring it up, I'm just saying we
That's
need
a
to be
big sticking
prepared.
point for Mr. Lozano, so he's gonna keep pressing it.
No, I'm not gonna say it.
No, I'm just saying, so we have to figure that one out.
No, but it's
Be prepared to
very,
say it.
no,
Might be tough
it's
to-
very simple, because why are you
Manage.
making somebody go out there and apply?
Okay, if it's simple, that's good, you know the
Whatever
answer, that's fine.
whatever
you have it.
dictates in the chart.
Yeah, so
whatever
you
it
have the
is,
answer, okay,
yeah,
good.
it's in the chart.
Because it's in the chart.
I'm just trying to cross the Ts and dot the Is. I'm not saying that it's an issue for me, I'm just saying it's going against the grain of how it's already.
What day are we meeting? Tuesday? Wednesday? What's good for
Wait,
everybody?
wait,
Tuesday or
wait.
Wednesday?
I'll make time,
Anytime.
I will make time.
Tuesday's fine with me.
Tuesday?
I'll make time, okay, it's Tuesday, let me check.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we have a.
Tuesdays at what?
Subcommittee
Just a subcommittee meeting with no quorum.
for
Well, we don't need
Yeah.
a motion.
Tuesday at noon. Do we meet at the, is the Building Services Department okay?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can meet at the office.
Our upgraded conference room,
Yes, show it off, show it off, Victor.
so you can see the upgraded conference room.
Without a permit.
I'll bring lunch.
Salad, por favor, porque no como carne.
Here's resolution.
Bring your own lunch. Bring your own lunch.
Bring your own lettuce,
Bring your own lettuce.
So Tuesday at 12,
You can do it.
or what time? What time should we schedule it?
You want to for me?
Oh,
Where is it gonna be?
At the office.
A building department.
Building department?
Yeah. That'll give me,
So did you finish your motion? I didn't hear.
Motion to meet.
I just wanna make sure we get it, I don't wanna miss out.
Subcommittee meeting next Tuesday at noon.
To address the
The
presentation to the planning and zoning committee. I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
Before we adjourn, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
on the agenda was not the tree ordinance,
Yes.
and I think we need to get that out of the way.
Should we have a little committee meeting with John Porter, you think also? So we don't wait for another month and then bring them in and then find out what their objections are? That way we just pick up the phone and call them, or we can meet with them a little bit, or just pick up the
That's
phone.
fine. And I think we need to look at the existing land development code,
We're working.
because I just, by chance, I was going through there, I think I was looking for something about parking or something, and no, I'm just kidding. And I ran across that, I was looking
you
for
said it was
something.
gonna come up.
I
You
did.
didn't say that?
At least it was at the end of the meeting. You know, we think it's
No, actually, I was looking at the wooded plant.
Moving on.
And that's how I found out, because I was looking, no, seriously, I was looking for the,
Just to remind, for those that didn't know, the irrigation ordinance did go, it got recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we need to put it on the,
Okay.
on
For the
the
upcoming
city council meeting.
Okay.
And since,
When's the next, or when's the first
The
meeting
third,
for
the
the?
third Monday.
so we got a deadline pretty quick to put it on the city council. So the irrigation ordinance will be moving forward, yeah. Thank you for reminding me, yeah. I needed to put that on the record.
I'm good with that.
So,
Happy New Year's.
We need Danny Waters to make the motion to adjourn.
He just sent me a text. He just sent me a text.
yeah, Mr. Aggie. What is it? What are the
Okay.
Aggies, man? Look at this. What is it with the Aggies?
What?
Honestly, you
Who underscored
want me to show you, all the Facebook posts from all the Longhorns from yesterday? They're just as bad.
so was there a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Asking for the third.
Alright.
Alright. Off the record. What color is your shirt?
Oh, yeah.
Let's go take it off the recording while I can say something.